My name is Laura Bennett, 30 years old, a freelance graphic designer who covers her own bills. My parents always eye my earnings, though. At my father's birthday party in our Seattle backyard, they cornered me. We need $219,000 for Dylan's college tuition over 5 years. My father said, his tone implying no room for debate. Dylan is my younger brother just starting out, but I'd already helped with smaller stuff before. I said no, firm and direct. His expression darkened. My mother's eyes narrowed with that familiar disapproval. An hour later, I spotted my mother near the pool edge, holding my $4,000 laptop packed with client designs I couldn't afford to lose. "Oops," she said with a smirk, letting it tumble into the water. Bubbles rose as the screen flickered out. "Just a mishap, free rider. Get out if you won't support your own family," my father added, stepping in, his voice defensive yet smug, labeling me as someone leeching off them without giving back. The guests mingled on, oblivious. My heart pounded, but I stayed composed. No outburst, no begging. I watched the device sync my projects vanishing, and something shifted inside me. Not fury, but a clear strategy emerging. They figured they could wreck my tools and escape unscathed. They were mistaken. That evening, back in my room, I skipped tears or calls to friends. I accessed my external drive and began outlining steps. They'd discover soon that mishaps carry consequences. Do you believe a family could really go this far? Share your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you'd do in my place. The morning after the party, I woke up with tension in my chest. That submerged laptop was my workhorse. I pulled it from my bag, connected the charger, and waited. No response. The display remained blank. No startup sound, no indicator light. That $4,000 device contained all the graphics for my top client assignment, a project that could bring in 10 times that value. Water had ruined everything. My fingers trembled, not in panic, but with a firm realization my mother hadn't simply dropped it. She aimed to erase it. I picked up my phone and launched the banking app. Long ago, I'd created a shared account with my parents for emergencies. My funds, not theirs. They'd withdrawn from it previously, always with justifications. Not this time. I blocked their access with a couple of taps, my heartbeat even. Then, I signed into our joint cloud storage where I kept design backups. They'd utilized it for their documents, benefiting from my setup. I canceled their rights, securing it permanently. If they believed they could harm my profession and still reach my assets, they had a surprise coming. By midday, my phone notified me of a message from Jenna Cole, my former co-worker from a design firm. "Laura, your parents are emailing backers saying you're their startup partner," she texted. My gut twisted. They were exploiting my credentials to promote their dubious startup, the one tied to Dylan's college funding they demanded my $219,000 for. Jenna had viewed an email they forwarded to a mutual contact asserting I was completely committed. I wasn't far from it. I phoned Jenna, maintaining a level tone. "They're fabricating," I told her. "Could you forward those emails?" She consented, her words crisp. She'd always supported me. Jenna wasn't merely an acquaintance. She understood the field and could detect deception easily. Her alert ignited determination in me. My parents weren't only disrupting my job, they were appropriating my identity to mislead others. Then my phone vibrated once more. A family group message. My Aunt Margaret Hayes wrote, "Laura, you're acting selfish. Your parents require help for their startup." My cousin Kevin Larson chimed in, "It was a slip-up. Why escalate it?" Their statements stung like criticism, but more painful was their ignorance. My parents had overstepped, and Margaret and Kevin were accepting their version. I envisioned my father's defensiveness, my mother's pretense, and my determination strengthened. They lacked remorse. They were manipulating me. I ignored the chat. Instead, I launched my spare drive, grateful for duplicating assignment files there. The client work was intact, but the laptop's damage required recreating edits anew. Hours, perhaps days of additional effort awaited, and my timeline was tight. Dropping this deal might damage my standing. I leaned against the wall, gazing at the city view, thoughts accelerating. My parents hadn't erred, they sought to undermine me, and now they employed my name to attract backers. I composed an email to my client detailing the postponement without revealing family issues. My hands hesitated, tempted to message my father, but I restrained. Challenging him immediately would reveal my approach. I required proof-solid documentation of their actions. Jenna's message was an initial piece, but I needed to be strategic. I examined my laptop's recovery records, searching for any entries my parents might have viewed. None so far, but I continued investigating. They'd misjudged me, and I'd ensure they faced repercussions. 2 days later, I prepared to respond. Jenna had committed to gathering the emails my parents distributed, and I wanted to gauge the extent of their deceptions. I contacted her that morning, my voice steady amid the simmering frustration. "Jenna, what if someone uses my identity to promote a startup?" I inquired. Her reply was direct. "It's misrepresentation, Laura." She explained you could pursue legal action, but you need concrete evidence, emails, messages, anything demonstrating false claims about your participation. Misrepresentation. The term struck hard. My own parents exploiting my name to deceive people. I started my computer fingers typing quickly as I scanned my inbox. Jenna had sent an email from Thomas Reed, a seasoned backer my parents knew for decades. My father's note declared I was directing the visual strategy for his startup. My tension grew at the boldness. I'd never agreed to any role. Exploring further, I uncovered 2 additional emails they'd inadvertently included me, on each promoting my total involvement to various backers. The fabrications were daring, designed to legitimize his unstable plan by relying on my expertise. I switched to social media on a Seattle startup forum where my father had shared, tagging me Laura Bennett's leading our initiative with her design skills. The entry had attracted attention. Several likes, remarks from area innovators, even reposts. My frustration intensified at the gall. He was constructing a facade with my name as the foundation. I captured every post, every response, filing them in a directory named Proof. My phone alerted mid-afternoon. A text from my cousin, Kevin Larson. "Laura, are you truly collaborating with your parents on this?" His phrasing seemed altered, less assured than when he'd minimized the laptop event. I recognized an opportunity. "No, Kevin," I responded. "I'm not part of it. Never have been." Shortly after, he forwarded a screenshot, a message from my father 3 weeks prior. "Laura's fully committed. It's sealed." My pulse quickened. Kevin's uncertainty was my advantage. I called Jenna, relaying the screenshot. "This is significant," she stated, her tone resolute. "Continue assembling, but avoid confrontation yet." She was correct. I sifted through past communications, locating a group thread from a month earlier where my father inquired about my contact list, pretending it was for connections. I'd dismissed it then, but now it was evident he'd aimed at my network for his promotions. I preserved those texts, my attention honing with each discovery. I devoted hours cross-referencing emails and entries, assembling my parents' scheme. One email to Thomas referenced a combined pitch I'd allegedly created. Another entry asserted I'd obtained a key client for his startup. Each deception accumulated, but so did my commitment. I incorporated every fragment into my directory, 20 captures, 5 emails, and Kevin's text by evening. 2 days after starting my evidence collection, I dove deeper into the investigation. Jenna had already provided key emails, but I needed more to build a strong case. I opened the Seattle Business Forum on my browser, a platform where local entrepreneurs networked and shared ideas. My father's account showed recent activity with multiple posts over the past week. He'd written about his startup focused on educational tech tools to help with college costs, similar to Dylan's situation. In one post, he stated, "Partnering with graphic designer Laura Bennett, we're bringing innovative visuals to our college funding platform." The thread had gained momentum, with users commenting on the potential and inquiring about investment opportunities. I read through the responses, seeing how he engaged, dropping hints of my alleged contributions to draw interest. Another post linked to my portfolio site, claiming my designs were integral to the project's branding. This direct connection made my skin crawl. I methodically captured screenshots of the post's comments and his replies, labeling each file with timestamps. The folder was growing, turning scattered pieces into a coherent narrative of deception. My phone interrupted with a notification from Kevin. "Just saw these forum threads from your dad. You really in on this startup?" He texted, including a screenshot of a post I'd missed. His question showed growing skepticism, a shift from his previous stance supporting my parents. I texted back, denying any involvement and probing for more. He responded with a series of forwarded messages from my father to relatives, including one saying, "Laura's on board with her skills. This will fund Dylan's education seamlessly." The text revealed a pattern of overconfidence, using my name to build credibility. Kevin added, "This doesn't add up." His words provided unexpected alliance, weakening the family's blind loyalty. I compiled these into my directory, noting how they complemented the emails. Next, I emailed Jenna the latest additions. "More from the forum and family texts," I noted. She replied almost immediately, suggesting we talk. On the call, she reviewed the new material, pointing out how the public posts amplified the issue. "This could be seen as public misrepresentation," she said. We brainstormed next steps, and she brought up Brian Foster again, her lawyer friend experienced in intellectual property and business disputes. I approved, and she arranged a virtual meeting for that afternoon. Brian connected on time, his background a neat office setup. After brief introductions, I explained the timeline, the demands for money, the incident with my equipment, and now the unauthorized promotions. He asked targeted questions, clarifying the startup's focus on college aid tech. "Sounds like they're leveraging your reputation without consent," he observed. I shared the secure folder link, and he browsed through during the call, commenting on standout items like the tagged forum entries. He outlined a strategy. "A cease and desist is the starting point," Brian advised. "It formally notifies them to halt all mentions of you." We discussed inclusions such as requiring deletion of posts and emails to backers, correcting the record. I emphasized the need for strong language on consequences like civil action for damages. Brian agreed, jotting notes. The conversation lasted over an hour, with him explaining U.S. business laws relevant to false advertising and identity use in commerce. Ending the call, Brian committed to sending a draft soon. "We'll make it airtight," he assured. I exhaled, feeling empowered by the professional backing. My parents had escalated from private pressure to public claims, endangering my freelance contracts. Glancing at the group chat, Margaret's silence stood out. No defenses or questions. Maybe Kevin had shared his findings with her, planting seeds of doubt. I shifted to my professional tasks, polishing the delay notice to my client. The campaign required custom graphics for a brand launch, and I began reconstructing elements on my backup laptop. The setback meant late nights, but preserving quality was essential for future referrals. As evening fell, I refined the evidence organization, grouping by source, forum texts, emails. Brian's follow-up email arrived with the letter's structure, introduction of facts, demands, and legal warnings. I scanned it, proposing adjustments for clarity on my non-involvement. This letter represented reclaiming control, a step toward resolution. My focus intensified, channeling energy into protection. By the end of the day, the directory contained 35 screenshots, 8 emails, and 4 text exchanges. It built a compelling argument, ready for the next phase. To strengthen it further, I cross-checked dates across all items, ensuring no gaps in the timeline. Kevin texted again later, offering more old conversations if needed. His ongoing help surprised me, but I welcomed it, adding 2 additional chains to the collection. Jenna followed up with encouragement, reminding me to stay calm amid the building tension. Brian incorporated my feedback swiftly, sending an updated outline that evening. The document now included specific references to the forum posts and emails, making the case even tighter. I felt the weight of the situation, but also a sense of direction. My parents' scheme was unraveling through these efforts, and I was at the center of exposing it. 3 days later, I took decisive action. With Brian's draft polished and my evidence folder robust, I was set to disrupt their scheme. I sat at my desk, finalizing the email to Thomas Reed, the backer they'd targeted with inaccurate statements about my role. My typing was deliberate, each phrase precise. Dear Mr. Reed, I began, I have no affiliation with my parents' startup venture. Their assertions of my partnership are completely unfounded. I've never consented to any joint effort, and I'm handling this unauthorized use of my name. I attached 4 screenshots from the forum threads, each falsely highlighting my supposed design leadership. My resolve steadied, rooted in the necessity to defend my boundaries. I scented a sense of release following. Then I navigated to the banking site. I'd restricted their access to the shared account earlier, but that was temporary. Now I aimed to end it entirely. The balance showed $12,000, all from my graphic work, not theirs. I moved the entire sum to my individual account, then started the closure process for the joint one. The bank's verification arrived shortly, and I relaxed slightly, knowing they'd never access my resources again. By afternoon, my phone displayed a text from my father. "What nonsense did you say to Thomas?" It read, laced with anger. "You're destroying our plans." A follow-up came. "Correct this immediately, Laura, or face the fallout." I gripped the device, composure tested but intact. He offered no regret for the equipment damage or the misrepresentations, just demands because I'd resisted. I chose silence, letting his frustration linger unanswered. My mother's call appeared next, ringing repeatedly. I directed it to voicemail, anticipating her approach. Listening later, her voice feigned concern but carried undertones of control. "Laura, dear, you're causing your father so much stress," she said. "We're blood. Why oppose us like this?" My reaction stayed neutral. Her emotional pull failed to sway me. I erased the recording, resolve firm. Thomas replied promptly. "Appreciate the clarification, Laura. I'll reevaluate my commitment." Not total success, but a tangible advance. Their initiative was faltering. I dedicated the rest of the day to fortifying my professional files, migrating them to a fresh encrypted cloud platform inaccessible to them. I verified backups twice, guarding against further interruptions. My parents had miscalculated, assuming pressure would force compliance. They were incorrect, and I was advancing steadily. That evening, I reviewed my client project status. The brand launch demanded intricate visuals, and I adjusted timelines internally, committing to overtime. Success here would solidify my portfolio, opening doors to larger gigs. Kevin texted unexpectedly. "Heard from Aunt Margaret. She's questioning their story now." His update hinted at family divisions, but I replied briefly, focusing on my path. No need for elaboration, actions spoke louder. Brian emailed an updated cease and desist version, incorporating recent forum additions. I read through, satisfied with the legal tone demanding immediate cessation and corrections. This tool would formalize my stance, potentially deterring further misuse. I suggested minor tweaks for emphasis on reputational harm, and he confirmed revisions. The process empowered me, transforming vulnerability into strength. As night progressed, I organized my workspace, prioritizing upcoming deadlines. A notification from the design community forum caught my eye, a general discussion on protecting intellectual property and collaborations. It resonated, reinforcing my choices. I contributed anonymously, sharing broad advice without specifics. My parents' texts and call remained unaddressed. Their attempts at influence met with quiet disregard. This non-response was my statement denying them control. The next morning, I woke refreshed, checking emails first. Thomas had forwarded a message to other potential backers, advising caution based on my input. Ripples were spreading. I proceeded with daily routines, editing graphics meticulously. Dylan's name surfaced in a stray thought. He hadn't reached out yet, perhaps unaware or conflicted. But I pushed it aside, concentrating on self-preservation. Midday brought another family message, this time from Margaret. "Laura, let's talk this through." Her shift from criticism to outreach suggested cracks in their unity. I ignored it too, maintaining distance. My father's additional text arrived more insistent. "Stop this sabotage now." Sabotage, the irony struck, but I let it pass without reply. Their escalating messages highlighted desperation, yet I remained detached. Afternoon hours flew by with client revisions, ensuring every element aligned perfectly. Brian's final draft landed ready for dispatch. I previewed it, envisioning its impact. This letter would mark a turning point, asserting my independence unequivocally. Evening wrapped. 4 days later, I advanced my efforts. The cease and desist had circulated, and I tracked fallout meticulously. An alert from the Seattle Business Forum appeared. My father had escalated with a new entry, sharp and accusatory. Laura Bennett aims to tarnish my name with baseless stories about our education tech startup. He alleged framing me as a resentful relative hindering his project meant to ease college burdens like Dylan's. The post collected 14 likes and sparked debates. Participants dubbed me unreliable, while a few queried his motives in family ventures. My resolve hardened, blending dismay with purpose. He wasn't conceding. He was countering with open defamation to rally sympathy. I documented the post responses and engagements, swiftly integrating them into my proof compilation. Kevin is my cousin, already messaged promptly. Check out this from Dad's forum blast. And this text he sent me. He attached a screenshot of my father's message timed to the party evening. Shoved her laptop in the pool intentionally. She'll learn not to block our funding. My focus intensified at the outright confession. Kevin, my cousin, who'd first echoed my parents' excuses in chats, but now scrutinized their actions, proved invaluable. I acknowledged crucial detail, grateful. He added, "Yeah, showed Margaret too. She's gone radio silent." Margaret's lack of engagement in the group thread stood out. As my aunt, who'd previously chided me for dramatizing the laptop mishap, her current muteness suggested internal conflict. No outreach or rebuttals from her, just emptiness where allegiance once stood. Maybe the shared revelations had prompted her pause, fracturing the kin's cohesive narrative. Dylan contacted me directly. Kevin passed on that text from Dad. Did he really mean to drop your laptop? His inquiry betrayed budding uncertainty, unusual for my brother, whose tuition needs fueled the initial push. I affirmed concisely, "The text confirms it." He countered, "Wow, I believed it was clumsy. This shifts things for me." Dylan's wavering injected fresh tension into the relations, his personal investment amplifying the sting. I briefed Jenna over the phone, her input tactical. Incorporate that into Brian's revisions. It elevates the intent claim. We weighed effects, and she recommended immediate escalation to Brian. I relayed the updates to him, detailing the forum aggression and kin changes. Brian responded swiftly. This enhances the harassment aspect. Adjusting the letter accordingly. His proficiency calmed me during a brief audio exchange where we honed the tactics. In the interim, the forum hummed with further input. Commenters highlighted discrepancies in my father's assertions, some alluding to ethical guidelines for tech initiatives. I watched without intervening, archiving progress. Kevin forwarded more. Margaret messaged me, she's bowing out of any startup talks. Her disengagement as the aunt who'd bolstered their cause earlier marked a significant pivot. Still no word from her to me, but Kevin's relay underscored her retreat. Dylan followed with another. Confronted Dad. He deflected. Why drag your name into this without permission? His scrutiny indicated growing misalignment, urging me to offer factual snippets via reply without excess. Examine the patterns, I suggested. He conceded. Doing that now. Feels like I've been in the dark. His position linked to the funding goal rendered his skepticism transformative. Twilight found me tweaking client submissions, refining layouts for the brand rollout. The endeavor's advancement offset the familial strain, affirming my autonomous trajectory. An outreach from a regional studio referenced my expertise, proposing a joint venture. I arranged discussions, fostering growth amid the discord. Brian's amended version materialized, weaving in the purposeful act message and forum vitriol. I endorsed it, sensing the framework solidifying. The compilation swelled with these inclusions, a thorough chronicle of occurrences. Darkness settled with a brief meditation, pondering the evolving roles. Kevin's shift to supporter had supplied pivotal elements. Margaret's hush conveyed her pullback, her former endorsements waning. Dylan's nascent queries foreshadowed possible reconfiguration. By dusk's end, forum overseers had deleted my father's entry for rule breaches invoking incitement. Discussions pivoted to the takedown conjecture mounting. I recorded it thoroughly, fortifying my stance. Kevin's closing note, Margaret's avoiding calls from them, atmospheres charged. Dylan's wrap-up, steered clear of family dinner, too conflicted. Their behaviors highlighted the disintegrating backing. I concluded the session, encrypting supplementary professional assets, layering safeguards. The directory encapsulated a vivid account poised for utilization. A week later, the repercussions unfolded. The cease and desist letter, bolstered by comprehensive attachments, had reached its targets. Thomas Reed's email hit first, straightforward, and conclusive. Laura, your documentation is undeniable, he wrote. I'm withdrawing from your parents' startup, and I've alerted associates to reconsider. A surge of validation coursed through me, crisp and anchoring. Their fragile structure was crumbling, and I'd initiated the dismantling. Jenna rang that afternoon, excitement in her update. 4 additional backers have pulled out, she reported. Your parents' venture is collapsing fast. The Seattle Business Forum, formerly his venue for promotions, now hosted critiques of his integrity. His defamatory post had been removed, supplanted by discussions dissecting his reliability. I browsed the threads, observing the altered sentiment. Participants no longer endorsed his claims. A subdued satisfaction emerged not from his downfall but from facts prevailing. Family ties evolved as well. Kevin texted Margaret, cease defending your parents. No one's aligning with them anymore. I absorbed his message twice, a combination of justification and weariness setting in. Margaret, who'd once rebuked me for amplifying the laptop mishap, maintained her hush. Whether from Kevin's disclosed text or the backer's exits, her detachment signified a rift in kin loyalty. I didn't crave their validation, but their separation from my parents offered minor triumph. I passed the evening drafting outlines for the initiative scheduling sessions across Seattle's urban spots. My parents' bids to pull me under had propelled me upward instead. Months on, I solidified my stance. Positioned in my workspace, examining a dynamic cityscape image, I experienced profound satisfaction expand. This existence derived from my conditions, impervious to parental intrigues. I sealed my log, my tenacity unyielding. Their disloyalty had compelled me to redefine bonds, prioritizing self over culpability. As my parents confronted the debris of their deeds, I flourished my horizon luminous and resolute. I'd surfaced not merely unscathed but invincible, a proof of my inherent fortitude. 2 months later, the effects materialized. The cease and desist had struck firmly, and Thomas Reed's pullout came swiftly. His message was blunt. Laura, your proof is solid. I'm exiting your parents' startup, and I've urged others to follow suit. Relief hit me sharp and steadying. Their deceptive framework was falling apart, and I'd sparked the collapse. Jenna phoned that day, her news buzzing. 2 more backers have backed off, she said. Your parents' project is stalled completely. The Seattle Business Forum, once his stage for pitches, turned into a hub of doubt about his practices. His slanderous entry had been scrubbed, replaced by posts challenging his trustworthiness. I scanned them, noting the change in vibe. Folks weren't swallowing his tail any longer. A quiet empowerment flowed through me, not for his setback, but for clarity emerging. The kin landscape transformed too. Kevin messaged Margaret's, done backing your parents. Nobody's standing by them now. I read it carefully, a mix of confirmation and fatigue washing over. Margaret, who'd scolded me for overreacting to the laptop event, kept her distance. Whether from Kevin's shared confession or the backers' retreats, her step back felt like a split in the family's solidarity. I didn't seek their endorsement, but their drift from my parents was a subtle gain. I gathered from a common friend that my parents were financially struggling. Without backer capital, their venture had no anchor. The closed shared account left them without cushions, and their lavish ways were catching up. They'd counted on my funds to prop their plan, now hustling to meet basic costs. I didn't gloat over their difficulties, but a firm grounding held me. Their paths had led them there, not mine. Meanwhile, my work life soared. After prolonged talks, I sealed a $300,000 deal with a national firm for their autumn rollout. The agreement closed on a video meeting the lead, praising my fresh perspective. I sat back, a real smile surfacing as I banked the $5,000 initial fee in my private account. This win came from my labor, my standing unmarred by family schemes. I spent the evening mapping plans for the rollout, coordinating shoots in Seattle's parks. My parents' efforts to hinder me had only elevated my trajectory. Kevin called unexpectedly, voice supportive. "Dylan's with you too. He's cut ties on the startup." Dylan's shift surprised, but aligned. His earlier doubts had solidified into action. Together, Kevin and Dylan bolstered my side, their endorsements countering the initial family pressure. Margaret's ongoing absence reinforced the change. No messages or visits. Their once comfortable setup now strained, mirroring choices made. I focused forward, scheduling agency follow-ups. The deal's advance enabled equipment upgrades, enhancing my setup for future tasks. Dylan texted, "Told them I'm handling my tuition alone. Your evidence opened my eyes." His independence echoed my own, a ripple from the revelations. I replied encouragingly, sharing tips on freelance gigs. Kevin added, "Family gatherings are tense without their spin." Their updates painted a picture of realignment, with me at the periphery but empowered. Evening wound down with file reviews, confirming all assets secure. The forum's scrutiny persisted, users sharing similar stories of misleading ventures. I noted parallels, anonymously gaining insights without involvement. Brian emailed a status check. "No violations reported yet. They're complying so far." His confirmation added closure to the legal front. By nightfall, I'd outlined 3 new proposals, momentum building. The backers' mass exit had neutralized the threat, leaving my parents isolated. Kin like Kevin and Dylan now advocated fairness, their support a quiet vindication. 6 months later, I solidified my detachment. My father and mother continued their efforts to connect. Texts pleading for meetings, voicemails coded in regret, even a handwritten letter placed under my door. I blocked their numbers, deleted the voicemails without listening, and threw the letter away unread. Their betrayal, using my name, destroying my laptop, slandering me online, provided no ground for reconciliation. I wasn't bitter. I was resolute. My decision a fortress around my peace. In my Seattle studio, surrounded by framed designs from recent projects, I reflected on my journey. Family ties don't justify exploitation. Setting boundaries, even with parents, is about safeguarding your worth. I'd learned this the hard way through lies and sabotage, but it made me stronger. I wrote in my journal, "Never let loyalty blind you to manipulation. Protect yourself first, always." These words were my anchor, a lesson I'd carry forward and maybe share someday to help others facing similar battles. From this experience, I drew key lessons for today's young people. Protect your personal value against family manipulation and embrace self-reliance, as it brings true freedom in life. In a world where familial pressures can stifle independence, standing firm preserves your integrity and opens paths to self-determined success. This realization stemmed from confronting deceit and emerging empowered, prioritizing autonomy over imposed obligations. My parents were sinking deeper into their consequences. A neighbor mentioned they had sold their car to cover debts, their once grand lifestyle now confined to a cramped rental. The family had fully turned away Margaret, once their loudest defender, hadn't contacted them in months. Their isolation was stark, a mirror of their choices. I didn't linger on their plight. My focus was on building, not dwelling. My career was soaring higher than ever. The $300,000 firm contract had sparked new opportunities, a gallery exhibition in Bellevue and a tourism campaign for Washington's trails. I hired an assistant, Anna Brooks, to handle my packed schedule, organizing logistics and client communications efficiently. My days buzzing with shoots and meetings. My bank account reflected my success with steady deposits from new projects. Standing in my studio reviewing a vibrant trail photo, I felt a deep pride swell. This was my life, built on my terms, untouchable by my parents' schemes. I closed my journal, my resolve unshakable. Their betrayal had pushed me to redefine family, to value myself above guilt. While my parents faced the wreckage of their actions, I was thriving, my future bright and unyielding. I'd emerged not just intact, but unstoppable, a testament to my own strength. To apply this further, I joined a professional network for designers, sharing anonymized advice on navigating family conflicts in creative fields. The connections led to joint ventures, expanding my reach beyond individual assignments. Dylan, having cut ties, pursued his education through scholarships, updating me periodically without parental influence. Kevin became a closer ally, proposing casual meetups that avoided past tensions. Margaret's infrequent outreach was tentative, acknowledging errors without full apology, but I kept interactions limited. The studio evolved into an innovation hub, hosting small workshops where I mentored aspiring professionals on balancing work and personal boundaries. Financially secure, I invested in advanced tools, elevating quality for complex campaigns. The Trail initiative garnered regional acclaim, securing features in trade magazines. Anna's efficiency streamlined operations, freeing time for pursuits like hiking Washington's paths, gathering inspiration for designs. Delving deeper, the ordeal underscored resilience in American self-sufficiency culture where independence frees from harmful bonds. Journal entries grew into an online blog disguised to inspire without revelation. Readers responded positively, affirming the value of voicing such experiences. Reports of my parents via indirect sources depicted ongoing struggles, apartment disputes, job hunts without resolution. Their contact attempts faded over time, accepting the gap. Relatives reorganized around chosen bonds, with Kevin and Dylan forming a supportive group. Studio evenings often involved achievement reviews, appreciating the transition from chaos to control. The betrayal's shadow diminished, replaced by confidence. Thriving became routine, prospects vast in this self-built world.